Welcome back to Bob Fu Report. Today I want to specifically focus on the topic of Christian education, including the institutions that are managed or administered by Christians in China. As we all know, by 1952, 3 years after the Chinese Communist Party took power in China, all the Christian schools, from elementary school to the Christian universities, actually all the Christian managed institutions, including Christian hospitals, and other Christian managed orphanages are all removed, banned, destroyed. Basically, the Communist Party declared the atheism is the doctrine should be taught everywhere in every educational institution. Remember, the Protestant came to China through the famous missionary Robert Morrison in 1807. From the 18th century, really the early century, to all the way to 1949, is about 1.5 centuries. So during this over 100 plus years, through the hard work primarily by the foreign missionaries from U.S., the United Kingdom, Sweden, and all over the world, and with their blood and sweat, and many even were martyred in China during this 100 plus years mission in China. By 1950, when Communist Party took power, about 21 Christian universities were established. 8 of them actually were internationally renowned at the time. And you know how many Christian schools were established? In 1950, according to the public record, over 5,000 Christian schools were established in China, and 600 church managed hospitals all over China were established. I mean, among this, the universities, there, the Yanjing University was one of the world top universities, and it was later on, of course, the Communist Party took over and changed its name to the current Beijing University, or some still call it Peking University. That university was founded by a missionary who later became the last U.S. ambassador to Beijing, to China, before Communist Party took power, until, of course, 1979, China and the U.S. re-established diplomatic relations. So that university actually was founded. The seed money was given by the collection of the kind of payment by the Qing dynasty. When the Boxer Rebellion happened, the Chinese extreme nationalists attacked all the foreign missionaries, and many actually were killed, murdered, and even including their children. That happened in 1900. And of course, then that caused a major war, a battle, which is known as the in Chinese history called 八国联军, means the 8 Western country alliance with the military sent to Beijing and to China that stopped that bloodshed massacre. And later on, the Qing dynasty agreed to make some huge, some financial payment, and none of these 8 Western countries, including the United States, had accepted a penny from the Qing dynasty or transferred to their own country. So instead, they leave that money as a seed funding. I think it constitutes millions of if you use the current number, millions and millions of US dollars they invested in China and used it partially or established the Yanjing University. And so Peking University or Beijing University was a missionary-built university. Of course, many Chinese intellectuals were graduates from these universities, and including of course, 5,000 church or Christian schools from elementary to high schools. And now, after the Communist Party took power, they basically banned, first kick out all the missionaries out of China by 1953, and then established the so-called Three Self, anti-America aiding Korea patriotic movement, and then using that organization to try to kill the Christian faith and Christian church, as we all know, without any success, because who can kill God's church, right? And they can kill and destroy or ban the physical existence of the church-managed hospitals, the Christian schools, Christian universities. They can shut all down, but the Spirit of Christ and the Word of the Lord can never be destroyed or banned from the human hearts for those who dedicated their life to defend their faith. So even after these 70 years of Chinese communist ruling in mainland China, physically there is no so-called Christian university, Christian elementary school, kindergarten, or high school, or Christian hospitals since 1950 until today. And yet, because of the revival in China, as we all know, when Communist Party took power, there was less than 1 million Christians. But today, everybody acknowledges the rapid growth of Christian faith, despite of, in spite of the heavy non-stop persecution. Maybe some even said because of it, the communist persecution, God humorously revive his church, and now the estimated number has reached to between 100 to 130 million Christians in China today. That is over 100-fold growth. So the schools, the Christian schools are still banned, but over the years, especially in the past decade or so, with the rapid Christian church growth, with the increasing of wealth of the Chinese citizens, including Christians, so there has been a moment, underground moment inside China. Number one, the moment of homeschooling in China. Not many people are aware, actually, across China. There are a lot of Christian parents had chosen to homeschool their children. Of course, there is a compulsory education system by the Chinese Communists. If they are found with their homeschool system, they would not allow that happen. But because the Chinese Communist Party could not really even establish a healthy education system to take care of the kindergarten age, children. So the homeschool system primarily focus on, those who are under 8 years old. So because if you have your school publicly beyond the elementary, then you would be in trouble. But even with the so-called 9 years free, supposedly free education from elementary, the first grade to the senior high school, the parents, the Chinese parents, found that the educational cost for these 9 years supposedly to be free, but that the enormous cost by the parents is the number one headache, the number one kind of a cost for a young family. So many over the years could not afford really to even go to elementary school. Some could not even afford to go to a kindergarten, and go to a high school that costs so much. The financial burden is so unbearable. Some of the elite public schools, supposedly Communist Party managed public schools in the major cities like Beijing and Shanghai, is so costly. Their price tag is as high or even higher, I think, than in American private schools. So that is the condition that really made another type of Christian managed schools. They registered as companies, as educational corporations. But in recent years, the the dictator Xi Jinping would not tolerate that. So from this year, early this year, in all over China, from Heilongjiang province, the very north China, bordering with the Russia federal the state, to the very south of Hainan Island, Guangdong province, from the very west, of course, in Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, to the very east, Zhejiang province, and the center of China, Anhui province. We talk about the Jiangsu province. There is a major sweep against the Christian managed schools. I use my word very carefully, try to be accurate. So because there is no Christian, like a church schools allowed. Of course, we have reported quite a few cases in the past about the crackdown against the Christian schools. Because some house churches, like the Early Rain Covenant Church, like the Holy, the Reformed Presbyterian Church in Shenzhen, like the Shouwang Church, Wanbang Church in Shanghai, Shouwang Church in Beijing, they all had tried to have a kind of a church loosely affiliated their private schools, but they were all banned. They were all demolished. Their teachers were arrested. Their textbooks, libraries were destroyed and confiscated. So that has been, of course, happening in the past few years since President Xi Jinping took power. But it seems there is a nationwide campaign from 2021, very targeted against the Christian, any schools with any Christian, even like Christian morality, like a moral teaching about from the biblical principles. They are being targeted. From May 27th, there is a school in central China called Anhui province in this beautiful city called Wuhu. This school called Xuande Learning Center. Xuande, actually, literary translation means proclaim the virtues or proclaim the morality. That's the literary translation of Xuande. So this school affiliated with a church group called Jiami Mountain, and they are their headmaster, Sister and Mrs. Wang Hongxia, and 9 teachers on May the 27th were all taken to police custody. And now we learned that at least 4 of the leaders were charged with the illegal business operation or facing criminal indictment. And then in September, they met the Christian Music High School from Harbin, the capital city of Heilongjiang province, were also attacked, and their principal, Brother Xu, were also taken, still not being released. And their academies, called Abeka Academy. Basically, the many private schools in America were using their curriculum. That in Suzhou City in Jiangsu province, this Abeka Academy was totally banned and raided on October the 12th. So the 5 of their teachers and leaders were also arrested, just simply because they are using the Abeka Academy's curriculum. And Brother Wang Jian, who is the China country representative or agent for Abeka Academy's curriculum usage, had been under arrest. And many other Christian private schools in the Zhejiang province were also being attacked simultaneously on October 13th. And recently, China Aid learned there's another school called the Jinweizi Learning Center from the capital city of China in Beijing were also attacked and banned. It is a learning center with over 100 students, and including many like Down syndrome students with disabilities. And the authorities attacked them and basically declared them as an illegal managed school because of their affiliation with the church called Golden Lamp Stand Christian Church. And these are some of the photos showing, the children with their schools, activities. Look at that. So they are, you can get on ChinaAid.org to see more clearly of these pictures. Their Christmas celebration. And so these are, but the Communist Party obviously would not tolerate their existence, and not only banning them, but also basically force all the 100 students, including some orphans, some of the, children with disabilities, from kindergarten to their middle school. These are the school. This is the Jinweizi Learning Center. They are really making a great contribution to the society, to the needs of even the Chinese Communist Party cannot really meet. And now those students were all forced to be back to wherever they used to be, their orphanages, their adoptions, the centers. So these are the spirit of really anti-Christ. I think, when we learn from the scripture, in Deuteronomy 6, when the Moses shared these what we call the golden rules, right? The Deuteronomy 6 chapter verse 4 said, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord of God, the Lord is one, and love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength." And not only these commandments are for those adults. Specifically, on the verse 7, it says, in verse 6 says, "These commandments that I give you today are to be upon your hearts. Impress them on your children, and talk about them when you sit at home and when you walk along the road, when you lie down, when you get up. And tie them as symbols on your hand and bind them on your foreheads. Write them on the door frame of your house and on your gates." So, the Christian education, especially the biblical teaching, Christians are mandated. This is the kind of the fundamental rights in the sense that the Christian parents are asked to do, and the international covenant, even from a secular human rights perspective, the International Covenant on Children's Rights, the Universal Human Rights, it specifically, if you look, just research it, said, the religious education is the one of the fundamental rights of the children, and specifically gave the parents and their legal guardians with the preferential authority. So every parent, according to the UN, the International Covenants on Children's Rights, you have the preferential, the first degree, the priority rights above everybody else. No state, no education board, no governors or anyone can order you to receive for your children to receive religious education. So otherwise, anyone who issued the order or who tried to take away the parents' rights for their children's access for religious education is fundamentally not only against their religious freedom, the freedom of conscience, but also absolute violation of the international law. So those of you, if no matter you live in Virginia or in the California or red state, blue state, whoever dare to issue this kind of decrees, orders, executive mandates, whatever they said otherwise, just tell them that they are international law violators. I think and certainly is a violation of our first freedom in our First Amendment, religious freedom. So I want to just encourage all of you to continue, to basically read what the Lord has said and bless our children, and continue to pray for millions of Chinese children who are now totally banned from receiving the word of the Lord. But the Communist Party will fail as we know it, because the God's church and His word can never be blinded. May God continue to bless all of you. Amen.